We're rolling. A new segment for you guys.
New segment again. We're just cranking these out.
We're so good, honestly.
What's this one called, Sam?
This one's called The Move.
The Move. Shout
the
out
real
to
ones know.
Shout out to our friends back home. Our friends from Florida State. Our time at Florida State. For those of you that don't know, that was our friends group chat name.
Yeah.
It had all of our collective friend groups all coalesced into one group. That was called The Move.
It'll be interesting test to see who listens to this, because if the person who actually came up with the name originally listens to it, I want you to let us know. So
Yeah.
That's a little egg Easter egg.
Yeah, comment down below. Hey, I came up with that name.
Whoever came up with the group chat name, take credit for it. I want to
Yeah.
know if you're watching.
Yeah.
Bang. Homework, bitch.
All right. So The Move. So this series is basically going to be us rating our experience, doing different things, visiting different places. So for this trip specifically, as most of you know, Sam and I are currently on a cross-country road trip, traveling around, visiting a bunch of different national parks, our first of which was Glacier National Park. So the concept behind this series is we're going to take a whole bunch of life experiences that a person can have and that we have had, and we are going to break them down into certain categories and rate them, essentially. So you get an idea of, relative to other, for example, in this instance, national parks, how cool or how interesting, important is Glacier? How much do you need to do this national park?
How bad do you need to go? Where does it stack up compared to the other ones? And as this series progresses, you'll get to see more of how each national park that we hit stacks up against each other, and which one's the best and which one you need to put at the top of your priority list.
Right. And these ratings are going to be based on our personal experiences at the park. We haven't done everything, probably. I mean, at Glacier especially, we didn't do everything. We did a lot. We did most, I would say. But we didn't do everything. And that will continue to be the case for the rest of the national parks. So this is based on our experience. If you do exactly what we did, you should basically have an experience that lines up with our rating, essentially, if you are like-minded to us.
Like-minded and have a similar amount of time in the park.
Right, which we spent 2 weeks in the Glacier area.
Yeah, this is a 2-week Northwest Montana review.
Yes, which great amount of time to spend up there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place, absolutely unbelievable country.
Mm-hmm.
It was the perfect way to start off the trip. I'm really glad that was the first stop. It helped kind of get us into the vibe of being outside, and it was such an amazing scenery or environment to be starting in, because it made the transition a lot easier that it was so nice out.
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful out. We got basically the best weather we could have asked. There was one day of rain, maybe?
Yeah, we had one rainy day.
One really cold day after that.
Facts.
And then other than that, it was pretty typical.
That really cold day ended up being the Cracker Lake hike, didn't it?
Yeah, and that was arguably the best day of the entire Glacier run.
Arguably the best day I've had in a long time.
Yeah, no kidding. And we'll get into that. So we've got 4 different factors that we're going to go over. First, we're going to just give you a general breakdown or a general kind of idea about our time there for a few minutes, and then we're going to go into each of these segments, give you our rating over a 10-point scale. And then after we've gone through each of the segments, we'll give you our average, and then taking that average into consideration, we're going to let you know how the time was, how the experience stacks up through 5 different descriptive terms. We've got foul, mid, dece, valid, and special. So those all break down. We'll get more into that a little bit later as we come to the end of this segment, but
a little bit of a tier game coming at you guys.
Yeah, a little bit of a tier game. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. You throw in a little bit of our lingo that we use on a daily basis. It's
exactly.
Kind of fun.
Get a little personal flavor.
Yeah. So I'll say definitely my favorite day of the glacier swing was the Cracker Lake hike.
Yeah, it's really got no contest. Like, it was the least crowded, probably the most naturally appealing.
Yeah.
Had the excitement of the bear encounter.
Yep.
It's the hike that we broke down on the podcast that is out now, episode 3. So
Yep.
if you don't know about it or you want to hear more about that hike, go check that out.
Yep.
Right here. Bang. That's a little note for me.
We've got some pictures in that podcast, so that's something that we're trying to add whenever we go over something that maybe we have done in the past. We'll throw some pictures or something in there for you so you guys can feel like you have an better idea about what we were talking about. But yeah, that was just a crazy day. That's one of those like life changer days.
Yeah,
like,
it was sick.
Like we really felt in touch with nature, and we felt like life made sense for a day, which is always a nice feeling.
Yeah, the hike really was like just a journey of like life kind of. It was kind of a metaphor.
Yeah.
It was just an unbelievable experience, a spiritual experience for sure. The only thing that can compete with that, because it's kind of almost got an unfair advantage that day, had everything going for it, is when we first pulled up to that first camp spot on the top of Desert Mountain.
Yeah.
We like kind of took this rocky little like road up there. We're like, all right, I guess we're going to see what that's like.
Yeah.
We pull up, get out of the Jeep, and it's just that amazing view that we've put up on all of our pages like 3 or 4 times. So again, check that out. We'll put the picture right there.
Yeah. Yeah. At Touchgrass365 and at the Hank of America on Instagram to see those pictures especially.
Keep showing the love on Insta.
Keep showing the love. Yeah. I mean, that was amazing. We got off that forest access road.
Yes.
We spent about 20 minutes driving on that very perilous road. Could have gone off. And then you would not have heard of us again.
There would have been a fast end.
Fast and furious. But yeah, to get out of that Jeep and think, oh, is this gonna be our spot? And then to just be absolutely blown away by the view. I mean, that's easily top 5 view I've ever seen in my life. That's
amazing.
That camp spot.
To be able to find that camp spot, and especially how much we were looking forward to finding camp spots like that.
Yeah.
That was such a big part of the trip to have that get done on the first spot, our first try.
Major boost for morale.
Huge boost.
Especially after driving like 9 or 10 hours a day for 4 days straight.
Yeah.
Major morale booster.
Yeah. We have a pretty good view at this one.
Yeah.
It's not quite as grand, but I love it. There's a sick little cliff down there. A little meditation spot I've been hitting. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I saw you down there today. That looked really nice.
Yeah, yesterday when you didn't get up for a little bit, that was my spot. I was just like sitting there for like probably 30 minutes.
That's pretty fire.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm going to have to steal that from you one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so overall, I mean, we'll get into exactly how we feel about it, but great first stop. Glacier National Park. I mean, really, you should see it.
All right, let's hop into these categories.
Yeah, let's hop into it. So we've got wilderness factor, spots, bot activity, and beer availability. So we'll get a little bit more descriptive in those as we go through them. But Sam, start us off with wilderness factor.
All right. So wilderness factor is kind of just going to be like how out there you felt, how remote it is, how good the woods are, that kind of thing. So this one's really Glacier's strong suit, in my opinion. It just feels so remote. Like when you're in the park, you feel isolated.
Yes.
You feel like you're in the middle of the mountains. There's great woods there. There's so many like stream beds and like washed out little areas and dense pine trees.
Yep.
The woods are special there. Plus, obviously, there's glaciers, hence the name of the park. So that really adds that feel of like, damn, I'm witnessing something unique.
Yeah.
And it's really cold, especially at night. It just
wicked
has that
cold
feeling of, good use of wicked.
Thanks.
It has that feeling of I'm up north. I am not near any sort of civilization. Basically at the North Pole, kind of a vibe. And then to wrap it up, another part of wilderness factor is, of course, the wildlife. And Glacier is arguably more known for wildlife than glaciers itself. So we saw that moose. We had that little almost encounter with the bear.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, lots of wildlife. It's a very happening place. The woods are alive there.
The woods are alive. Yeah, I took note here. We had multiple goat encounters, which is just the animal I used to start off the list. Not as notable as bears, but we did see probably up to like 10 goats, whether we were in the car or on the mountainside. We did see the moose. That was really up close. And then we had the close bear encounter, and we saw some bears from afar. So definitely enjoyed a healthy dose of wildlife. Nothing too crazy, nothing too dangerous. But it was nice. I'm from South Florida, so I don't basically get to see any of that where I'm from. So that was super cool. One thing that really stuck out to me, especially on the Cracker Lake hike, was how many different types of terrain or environment it felt like you were going
Good
through.
point. Ecotones.
Ecotones, yes. This man and his environmental science degree. But there, especially on the Cracker Lake hike, it felt like you were walking through about 3 or 4 different areas.
Yeah.
Like you
Totally
could have
different.
easily convinced me that it was 4 different hikes that we just embarked on. And that's super cool. That's super cool, especially
Beautiful.
when none of them suck.
Yeah.
Especially when they're all cool.
Yeah.
That's really fun. So wilderness factor was great. So Sam, what's your overall
my rating for that is going to be a 9.3.
Okay,
That's
nice.
a special rating.
Nice. I also have a special rating for this. I gave it a 9.1.
Nice.
Really, really stood out. You feel like you're in the wild, and that's kind of what you sign up for, and that's what you look for when you go to a national park.
It's a majestic place. Like, you really, there's nothing like it. You won't find it anywhere else. It deserves every bit of the word special, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That is why you go to Glacier. You go for the wilderness.
Definitely.
All right, so moving on, we got spots up next. This is kind of just like the little vibe spots that you can find with like either a good view or a river running by or just somewhere that you can find and just chill out, vibe out for a little bit, sit with your thoughts, collect yourself.
Yeah.
So for Glacier, this one for me was a little bit conflicting and probably the hardest one to spot on the spectrum because it's got really just amazing views like we were just talking about, and extremely, like, the natural appeal of these spots is very high. However, there's a lot of crowds.
That does play a factor.
And when I'm trying to sit and vibe out, I do not want to hear cars going by. I don't want to hear people talking, especially like dumbass white middle America people. Sorry if you're from there.
Racist.
But it's just that's the okay form of racism though.
Yeah.
So I'll probably get props for that.
Yeah, we'll probably get promoted for that one. Yeah.
That's how we're going to go viral. I'm on the good side of things now.
Yeah, all right, bet.
So yeah, it's just it was a little too crowded for the spots to fully take on their special nature. What do you think about it?
Interesting. I took the crowds into account a little bit, but I think a little less than you did. I took into account also some of our campsites, which technically aren't inside of the park, but they were very close, and I felt like we spent a significant amount of time in these places, so they were warranted on being in the spots category.
I would agree.
And while I do definitely think that the crowds dampened some of the luster for these spots, I think really the first campsite we were at is it's borderline 10 out of 10 for campsites. As far as campsites go, it's hard to get much better than that. Cracker Lake also is just a 10 out of 10. If you go all the way to the back and you go to the vantage point, that big rock, and you just sit down on that rock and you look back towards the valley that you just hiked through, I mean, that literally is maybe the best view I've ever seen. That was just stunning. I never wanted to leave, and this does have a little bit to play with just our personal experience there, because as we were walking up, there was a bear that spooked most of the hikers that were there before us, and then it occupied some of the ones that were coming after us. So we actually got to stay in Cracker Lake without any other people for about 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's really something special. I will always remember that moment, and sitting up there, it was really something else.
It was a strong 20.
So really just the Cracker Lake and the initial campsite, they were both such high points, and there was plenty of waterfalls and creeks that were – there's a fly buzzing around me. There were plenty of waterfalls and creeks that just were great spots for me to just let go, and I could easily find myself lost in the flow of the water. So despite there being crowds, I'm actually going with a 9.3.
9.3
for the
so
spots.
That's even higher.
That's even higher. I think if you time it right, especially if you go on the east side of the park, you can really get some beautiful spots and some great time to yourself in the areas where the crowds are not so prevalent. So I'm going 9.3, high rating, but I really love some of it.
My rating on it is an 8.1. I think part of it probably plays into maybe the fact that I've been there. So there wasn't that like shine of like, oh my God, like this is just like so amazing, which I totally understand because it is so amazing. But for me, like I think of Avalanche Lake and just all the people on the beach there, and like it was literally like being at a regular beach, like on a weekend afternoon, like it was packed. So that kind of like almost not ruined it because it's still naturally beautiful, but it takes it down quite a bit. So 8.1, still a solid score, a valid score, but
valid. Spots are valid.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Totally valid, of course. So we'll move on to our third category, which is bot activity. This is basically kind of what Sam was alluding to earlier. What is the effect of the crowds? How many people are there? Do you feel like you're in a line at Disney World the entire time, or do you feel like you're actually in nature in some of these spots? So I'll start off just piggybacking off of what you said. Avalanche Lake is the number one hike that stands out to me as a downer in this category. There was not a single stretch of that hike where we were not seeing people. I don't think we were ever alone on that hike, except for maybe towards the very end where we were hiking up that creek, like at the very end.
Yeah, that was a super dangerous spot we were in.
Yeah,
that was very berry.
That's not really some place that we recommend everyone go.
Yeah.
So lots of people over there. Avalanche Lake was beautiful, and there were some great spots, and I definitely still had that glittery shine on it because it was the first time I'd even seen a lot of things like this. But I won't deny there was a ton of people, and parking was very difficult on that side of the park, on the west side of the park, pretty much the whole time.
Availability forced us into doing the loop trail. One of the hardest experiences of the trip so far.
Yep.
It forced us out of the park on our last day. So bot activity, I think this kind of, you'll see when I give my rating that this definitely played into my spots rating as well. But I can't believe how busy it was, especially for the fact that we were in the off season. It was like mid-September, and it was still absolutely packed.
Yep.
It kind of bummed me out and pissed me off a little bit. I couldn't imagine going in the summer. It would seem like a waste of time to me, to be honest.
I agree. I couldn't even imagine.
So, and don't go on the weekend. Straight up, it's not even worth your time. So, yeah, there was traffic because the only road is going to the Sun Road pretty much. Absolutely packed. Tons of traffic, people on that taking pictures and whatnot. The trails were packed, and yeah, the east side of the park is much, much nicer.
That's the place to be.
Side of the park. Spend all of your time or as much time as you can on the east, especially in Many Glacier. That is the place to be. They have the Swift Current Pass hike.
Awesome.
Iceberg Lake, which we didn't get to do on this trip, but I have done before, and it's absolutely breathtaking. and the Cracker Lake hike, plus Grinnell Glacier hike is over there, which we didn't get to do, but is supposedly one of the best hikes in the park. So stick over at Mini Glacier and the east side of the park to avoid the crowds and to take full advantage of the park. But for bot activity, my rating was a 4.8.
Ooh. Wow.
That gets it right in the foul territory, which I think it deserves to be.
That is foul.
The last day really is what did this for me and solidified putting it in the foul category, because we were going into the park to like spend our time, like our last day, enjoying ourselves in the park, and it was literally impossible because there was too many people. So that, and it was September 20th, like late season, should be off season.
Did it was, what's it called, Free National
Land
Day
that's
or
right.
something?
Yeah, it was free entry, so I guess that could have played into it. Bad
But
timing, but still.
Weekends still, they are off-putting, definitely.
Yeah. So go ahead with your bot activity rating.
So I'm giving bot activity not as low, but it's definitely my lowest rating of the park by far. I'm giving it a 6.3.
Fair.
It's mid. I mean, truthfully, if you get up early and you try to head over to the east side, I mean, especially in the time that we were there, you can get some parking and you can hit those hikes that aren't so bad. But if you plan on doing those hikes on the west side, you're going to be in for a bit of a problem. So I think that, I mean, it definitely couldn't. It wasn't in the special. It wasn't in the valid. It wasn't even decent. I'm giving it mid. Borderline foul, honestly, but I just wasn't willing to go that far.
Mm-hmm.
So 6.3 is my overall rating. Our final category for this segment is going to be beer availability.
My personal favorite.
So personal favorite, you go ahead and you start us off. Beer availability, what's that mean?
Beer availability is kind of, I mean, obviously it's about how available can you get a beer, but mostly just like what's the surrounding towns like, what's the vibe of the surrounding towns. So on the west side of Glacier, there are two towns, Whitefish and Kalispell.
Mm-hmm.
Kalispell. I don't know how they pronounce it, but
something like that.
On the east side is the Blackfoot Reservation, so there's really nothing happening over there. That's why we were kind of forced to be on the west side during this trip. And Whitefish is about 30 minutes from the park. It's more low-key than Kalispell. It has a pretty good vibe. It's got a mountain town vibe. It's small, but nice. Like, it's well-kept. Everything's kind of new.
Yeah.
Well planned out. Makes sense. Nice restaurants, good shops. And, yeah, enough places where you could get absolutely, like, banged up if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But there's also, like, that family vibe where you can just hit the restaurants, hit the shops for a nice day. We had some amazing crepes at this crepe place there.
What was that place called? Was it called Amazing Crepes?
It was Amazing Crepes, yeah.
Great name.
Yeah. Very aptly named. I got it was like egg, sausage, and cheese crepe. Best crepe I've had. Sorry, Mom. Ooh. And the other one was chocolate strawberry crepe.
Yeah.
That was gas, too.
Yeah. I had the same crepe, and then for my like dessert type crepe, I had a chocolate and banana crepe, which was also very good. So I agree. Whitefish. I mean, Kalispell is kind of like a random hidden gem in there. If you're a city boy or a city girl, I mean, you can go to Kalispell and you can hit your Targets, hit your Walmarts.
Yeah, that's right. Forgot about Kalispell.
You got your REI, Chick-fil-A. You got everything. If you're from a city, you can go to Kalispell and feel like you kind of fit in.
Yeah, exactly. I put that it doesn't feel remote at all.
Yeah.
Like, if you need to get away from the full like nature isolation of the park, Kalispell's your place. If you forgot anything, they're gonna have everything there too. So.
Yep. They've also got a great laundromat there.
Oh yeah,
Best laundromat ever.
If you're on this kind of vibe where you're out here living in the woods and you need a laundromat, I don't remember the name. Tumble maybe.
Tumble. Yeah.
But that place fucks.
That place fucks, no doubt. We spent. Well, I think we went to this place 4 times, maybe a 5th time, but we went to Craggy Range Bar and Grill in Whitefish. That was our bar, our sports bar destination. We love fantasy football, as you might have heard us talking about in the first episode.
Big football guys.
Big football guys. So we would go there, watch the Sunday night game, maybe watch a Monday night game, or Thursday. Fuck it, hit the Holy Trinity. But we really enjoyed going there. They've got some good selection, and it's right in the heart of that town in their downtown area. So we walked around there. They had a farmer's market going, so we would go check that out. We threw the ball around through the pigskin in the field, and then we went and had a few beers and had a burger in Craggy Ranch. It was a good time, great time.
That's all in Whitefish. I don't remember if you had.
That's all in Whitefish. I think I said it.
I zoned out for a sec.
Yeah. So great time. Whitefish had great energy too. Sam said multiple times, and I agreed with him. This is a place you could raise your kids, have a family at. It's got good vibes there.
Wholesome vibes. But also they have the ski mountain. I'm pretty sure it's called Whitefish up there. So there's like kind of that. There are a couple ski bars where you, like I was saying, can get banged up if you want. So it can do it all. It's a good town right outside of National Park.
Yeah. So for our purposes and in our experience, I'm very satisfied with Whitefish and Kalispell. I'm giving the beer availability, aka what's the surrounding town and city life like. I'm giving it an 8.7. You can buy whatever you want. You can go to a bar, and you can do all of this without problem and within a 30-minute driving distance from Glacier National Park. Maybe some other people don't like it as much, or maybe they like it more than I do, but I find that it was really just what I needed, and it wasn't too much of a distraction, wasn't too overdeveloped, wasn't too underdeveloped. It was perfect for me. 8.7.
That's a good, strong score. I think I might have gone a little harsh on this one. I said 7.4. Which puts it in the decent range. The reason for that was the drive, the 30-minute drive, and you have to drive through, like, nothing. Like, if you're not in Whitefish or Kalispell, like, that immediate vicinity, everything else is absolutely terrible, not worth any of your time. It's honestly kind of depressing.
That's for sure.
So that was the reason why I got dragged down a bit. But, yeah, overall, solid experience in those two cities.
Well, good. Okay, so what is your average score overall, taking all four of those into account?
So averaging all of them out, I got a 7.4, and I felt like that was a little harsh on Glacier. I didn't want to give it a 7.4 because the wilderness has a very special place in my heart up there. It is arguably my favorite place to just look at and to hike in. So we have a rule where you can't bump it up more than one whole point. So I bumped it up to an 8.2 for my overall score. Solidly in the valid range, and I feel like that's a fair score considering how busy it was when I was here the first time. At least I don't remember it being as busy. But that is a serious negative in my mind and something that you have to take into consideration when you're planning a trip here. Straight up, don't come in the summer. I don't even want to know what it would be like.
Yeah, I've got no interest in that. That's a good score, 8.2. So, obviously, my scores were a bit higher. My average came out to an 8.4, which I feel like is pretty good. Part of me in my heart wants to bump it up to a special rating, which would be a 9 to a 10. And I think a lot of that has to do with this being such a drastic change from what I'm used to in my personal life. I come from the flattest place on earth practically, and that's South Florida. So to come here to Glacier and experience all of this and to have everything that we need within a half an hour and have some really beautiful views and to see some wildlife that I have never had a chance to see before, I think 8.4 just about does it. I'm gonna give it an 8.6. I'm going to bump it up 0.2 just for the first timers bonus. But I like that. It's on the high end of valid, very valid. And if you come maybe around this time, maybe end of September to early October, when you come and the crowds are thinning out even more, you might be able to get this experience into the special range. with some ease. Actually,
Yeah.
it's really a special place. The crowds just bring it down.
Yeah, it is. I wrote in my little synopsis here, it's a special tier place. It honestly is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it probably deserves to be 9+, but the crowds just really dragged it down for me. And if you ask me, like, how I feel about it in my heart personally, I say that personally, for me, it's a special place. But that's got a whole other dimension of, like, the fact that we're out here and, like, how much growth had already happened out there and
Mm-hmm.
how much I've changed already just from doing this experience and having it be there and having it be the first place. But in general, you're going to go on a family vacation or you're going to go with your boys or whatever. You're going to stay in a hotel. It's an 8.2. Strong place to go.
Strong place, very valid destination.
Yeah.
And it sets the bar really, really strong. It's kind of, this is another football piece, but it's almost like Jonathan Taylor. It's like, you know he's one of the best, but
Yeah.
he's been underperforming this year a little bit, and it's probably just a bit of the timing. So
Fair.
so we're going to go with Glacier. Valid, definitely worth checking out. Just make sure you get the timing right. Any closing notes other than that?
No, that's it. I am excited to do more of these. I mean, you can't really get better than reviewing places that you get to go see. So
Yeah.
this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I hope you guys like it. Again, as always, suggestions in the comments. While you're in the comments, like, subscribe. It helps a lot.
Yeah,
And
share with your friends.
takes
Sharing is
2
so
seconds.
helpful.
2 fucking seconds. Just
Yeah.
do it. And
Next up is going to be the Grand Tetons and Jackson Hole.
that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
And
We're digging it so far.
We're going to see. I think
Yeah.
it's giving Glacier a run for its money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we're having a good time here.
yeah.
So all right, y'all be easy and we'll catch you in the next one.
Take care, guys.